November 22, 1987. Millions of Americans were watching television. Then, without warning, someone...
Greetings. Allow me to introduce myself. The game is just beginning.
Green laughed, spoke nonsense, and vanished. More than 3 decades later, no one knows who did it. It was the evening of November 22, 1987. For millions of Americans, it seemed like an ordinary Sunday night. Families were watching television, sports fans were following the latest game, and local news stations were broadcasting as usual. Then something impossible happened. Without any warning, the television signal suddenly broke apart. The picture filled with strange static. Seconds later, an unknown figure appeared on the screen. He wore a disturbing Headroom mask, dark sunglasses, and a suit. He stared directly into the camera, smiled awkwardly, and began speaking in bizarre, almost meaningless sentences. Viewers froze. Some thought it was a prank. Others believed the television station had made a terrible mistake. But the truth was even stranger. This wasn't part of the program. Someone had hijacked a live television broadcast. For nearly 90 seconds, the mysterious figure controlled the signal before disappearing as suddenly as he had appeared. The station quickly returned to normal programming. No explanation. No warning. Just silence. That night, Chicago had witnessed one of the strangest television crimes in American history. And this was only the beginning. The first interruption shocked Chicago, but what happened next terrified everyone. Just 2 hours later, another major Chicago television station was broadcasting its evening news as usual then. The picture suddenly disappeared. The screen filled with static, and the same mysterious figure returned. This time, the hijacker stayed on the air for more than a minute. He wore the same Headroom mask, swayed strangely in front of a moving metallic background, laughed, mocked television personalities, and delivered a stream of bizarre, confusing phrases. Then the broadcast became even more disturbing. The masked man performed strange, childish acts that made no obvious sense. It was impossible to tell whether it was a prank, a protest, or a carefully planned performance. Television engineers raced to regain control of the signal. For viewers at home, there was nothing they could do except watch. Finally, the unauthorized broadcast ended. The regular TV program returned. But by then, the damage was done. Across Chicago, people were asking the same question. Who had the skill to break into a live television signal in 1987? At that time, broadcast equipment was expensive, highly technical, and heavily controlled. This wasn't something an ordinary person could do from their living room. Whoever was behind the mask appeared to understand television engineering far better than the average person. The FBI was notified. Local authorities opened an investigation. What they discovered next would make the mystery even deeper. As news of the bizarre broadcast spread, television stations were flooded with phone calls. Viewers wanted answers. So did the authorities. The second hijacking was serious enough that local investigators and the FBI became involved. Engineers from both television stations began examining their equipment, searching for any sign that someone had broken into their systems. What they found was surprising. There was no evidence that anyone had entered the TV stations. Instead, investigators concluded that the hijacker had likely overpowered the station's microwave relay signal from another location. In 1987, many TV stations transmitted video between locations using microwave links. Someone with the right technical knowledge, specialized equipment, and a carefully chosen location could briefly replace the station's signal with their own. That meant this wasn't a random prank. Whoever planned the hijacking understood broadcast technology. Investigators interviewed television engineers, technicians, electronics experts, and people familiar with Chicago's broadcasting network. They searched for clues in the recording itself. The masked figure's voice, the strange background, the quality of the video. Every detail was examined, But every lead ended the same way: nothing. No fingerprints, no equipment recovered, no credible suspect. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months. Despite national attention, the investigation stalled. The person behind one of the most famous television hijackings in American history had vanished without leaving a name. And then investigators noticed several small details in the video, details that sparked new theories and kept the mystery alive for decades. The longer investigators studied the recording, the stranger it became. At first glance, the broadcast looked completely random. But when engineers replayed it frame by frame, they noticed details that suggested this wasn't an impulsive prank. The hijacker stood in front of a moving metallic background designed to imitate the look of Max Headroom, a popular fictional TV character from the 1980s. The effect wasn't perfect. But creating it in 1987 required planning, equipment, and technical knowledge. Then investigators focused on the voice. It sounded distorted. Some experts believed the speaker was deliberately changing their voice to hide their identity. Others argued it could have been more than one person involved in the broadcast. The camera work raised more questions. Someone had to operate the camera, someone had to control the video equipment, and someone had to transmit the signal. That meant the masked man may not have acted alone. The team also noticed the interruption happened at exactly the right moment to overpower the television station's microwave relay. That wasn't luck. It suggested careful timing and a solid understanding of Chicago's broadcast network. Yet despite all these clues, none of them revealed a name. No one claimed responsibility. No ransom demand ever arrived. No political message was delivered. No manifesto was sent to the media. Whoever carried out the hijacking seemed interested in only one thing: proving that they could interrupt live television and disappear without a trace. That single decision turned a strange prank into one of America's most enduring unsolved media mysteries. As years passed, investigators and researchers developed several theories. Some sounded believable, others seemed almost impossible. But one question remained at the center of every theory: who had both the skill and the courage to hijack live television in 1987? And why, after the investigation reached a dead end, theories began to spread. Over the years, detectives, journalists, engineers, and internet researchers have proposed countless explanations, but only a few have remained plausible. Some investigators believe the hijacker may have worked in the broadcasting industry. The timing of the interruptions, the knowledge of microwave transmission, and the technical execution suggested someone familiar with television engineering. It wasn't proof, but it was one of the strongest possibilities. Others believe the broadcast involved more than one person wearing the mask, another operating the camera, another controlling the transmission equipment. The video itself seemed difficult for a single person to produce alone. If this theory is correct, the secret has been shared by multiple people for nearly 4 decades, yet none of them have ever come forward. Some researchers think the hijacking was an elaborate piece of underground performance art. The bizarre jokes, the surreal behavior, and the lack of any political or financial motive make the broadcast feel more like an artistic statement than a crime. But if that was the goal, why disappear forever? Perhaps the simplest explanation is also the most unsettling. Maybe the hijacker never wanted fame, never wanted money, never wanted recognition. Maybe the entire purpose was to prove one thing: that someone could interrupt live television, confuse an entire city, and vanish without leaving a single trace. If that was the plan, it worked perfectly. More than 35 years later, the mystery remains unsolved. And every new generation discovers the strange recording and asks the same question: who was behind the mask? We'll explore why this case is still remembered today, and whether the truth could still be hiding in plain sight. Nearly 4 decades have passed. Technology has transformed the world. Television has become digital. The internet has connected billions of people. Yet one mystery from the analog era still refuses to disappear. The identity of the Max Headroom hijacker remains unknown. Over the years, countless people have claimed they solved the case: former television engineers, anonymous internet users, independent researchers, even people who claim they personally knew the person behind the mask, but none of these claims have ever been supported by enough evidence to close the case. No arrest was made. No official confession was accepted. No court ever identified the person responsible. The recording itself became something much larger than a simple broadcast interruption. It became a symbol of the unexpected, a reminder that even a highly controlled television network could be disrupted by someone with the right knowledge. And the confidence to try. Today, the original footage continues to be analyzed frame by frame. People study the lighting, the voice, the camera angles, the equipment, searching for one detail that everyone else may have missed. But after all these years, the biggest question has never changed. Risk committing a federal crime, only to disappear forever. Without demanding money, without making a political statement, without ever taking credit, perhaps the greatest mystery isn't how the broadcast was hijacked. Perhaps it's why the people behind it chose to remain silent for the rest of their lives. Maybe the answer still exists, hidden in someone's attic, locked inside an old videotape, or buried in the memory of someone who has never spoken, until that day comes. The Max Headroom TV hijacking remains one of the strangest unsolved mysteries in American broadcasting history. What do you think really happened? Was it a group of broadcast engineers, a carefully planned performance, or someone whose identity has remained hidden for nearly 40 years? Share your theory in the comments. And if you enjoy real unsolved mysteries, forgotten cases, and investigations based on historical evidence, subscribe, because the next file we're opening may be even stranger than this one.